This is not a CGI render of some alien planet. This is our moon. Yes, the moon in question is yet another one of Saturn's moons, the weirdest moon that we have ever discovered. It has a surface so bizarrely porous that if it were any bigger, it would collapse under its own gravity. It's also extremely active in an unexpected way. Scientists have spotted something they never expected to see in space: lightning. Welcome to my channel, and today let's find out why. Hyperion is the 14th moon of Saturn. It was discovered by the Cassini spacecraft back in 1980 and named after the Titan who held up the sky in Greek mythology. But there's nothing mythical about this moon. There's no figure in the sky. Instead, Hyperion is a strange place of chaos and confusion. For starters, it looks like a giant sponge or perhaps Swiss cheese, but that's only the beginning. After discovering these mysterious holes, scientists began to suspect that Hyperion might be a giant battery. That's because the entire surface of this moon is covered with electrostatic discharges. It looks like someone has sprinkled black pepper all over it. These spots are not craters or pebbles. They're charged particles ejected from the surface due to friction. We don't know what causes this friction, but something is definitely rubbing against this moon. The surface is so chaotic that every single image taken by Cassini is completely different from the last. So, whatever is happening on this moon, it's changing constantly. And get this, the energy released by these electrostatic discharges is thousands of times more powerful than lightning on Earth. But how can this happen in space? Shouldn't this moon be dead? Unfortunately, the answer is not simple. And it's not just because we haven't explored this moon up close. There are many things that we don't understand about our own planet, let alone an alien moon. So here's what we do know about Hyperion. It's roughly 23 miles or 37 kilometers wide, which makes it smaller than Earth's moon. And its mass is only about 90 billion kilograms. It has a very thin atmosphere called an exosphere, which is probably made up of water vapor and some carbon dioxide. What makes Hyperion really unique is that it orbits Saturn at such a weird angle. Well, weird for a moon anyway. Most moons orbit their planets in roughly the same plane, but Hyperion is totally off-kilter. It comes within 43,000 miles or 70,000 kilometers of Saturn's northern pole. It then falls away before swinging around to the other side. At its farthest point, it gets about 460,000 miles or 740,000 kilometers away from Saturn. That means that Hyperion is actually closer to the planet than any other moon, and it moves almost twice as fast as the rest. This wild ride takes 21 days. At first glance, the gravitational forces acting on this moon should be extreme. As it approaches Saturn, the tidal forces would stretch and tear it apart. However, scientists believe that Hyperion could be hollow. If that's true, then its internal pressure would keep it together. According to NASA, it may even be entirely empty inside. So while this moon looks like a hunk of rock, it could just be a thin shell. In fact, that seems to be the only explanation for why Hyperion doesn't fall apart when it gets so close to Saturn. But there's still the matter of those electrostatic discharges. In order to produce them, you need to start with a neutral surface. Electrons are added to part of the surface. And without any way to discharge, those electrons build up until the surface is highly charged. When they finally break free, the energy is released as light. On Earth, this process is called triboelectrification. You've probably rubbed a balloon against your hair and stuck it to the wall. That's the exact same thing that's happening on this moon. But how does it rub up against itself, and why is it releasing so much energy? That's what scientists want to find out. Researchers at the University of Berlin created a simulation to show how it might be happening. Their model showed that Hyperion's rough terrain could cause these electrostatic discharges. If the moon is tumbling through space, small rocks could collide with each other and build up a charge. Eventually, the electrons become so strong that they jump from one spot to another. Of course, this isn't exactly how lightning works on Earth. On our planet, the charges build up between the clouds and the ground. Then the air gets superheated and ionized, allowing the electrons to flow between the two. But both processes end with the same result. To test this theory, researchers also needed to explain why the energy released by Hyperion's discharges is thousands of times stronger than lightning on Earth. Even though they're both caused by the flow of electrons, one is a massive cosmic ray and the other is a tiny bolt of lightning. The answer came down to temperature. They found that if the surface of Hyperion was as cold as outer space, then the energy released wouldn't be that powerful. But if it was warmed by the sun, then the energy would be released all at once, causing a huge electrostatic discharge. So far, this model seems to fit everything that we've observed about Hyperion. It explains why this moon looks like a sponge, why it's so electrically active, and even why it's wobbling around like a drunk bee. If the surface is being bombarded by charged particles from the sun, then it's probably pushing and pulling on Hyperion, making it lurch from side to side. But none of this explains where the energy is coming from in the first place. Scientists have a few ideas. First, it could be coming directly from Saturn. The planet has an intense magnetic field, and it constantly blasts out charged particles. When these reach Hyperion, they could cause the electrostatic discharges. Another possibility is that it's coming from the moon itself. Remember, it's not solid. So, whatever is inside that shell could be reacting with the particles from the sun. We don't know if it's water, ice, or something else entirely. It's also possible that these two factors are combining to create something even weirder. Maybe the sun's radiation is causing some kind of chemical reaction inside of Hyperion. Whatever is going on, it's releasing an incredible amount of heat. And that could be the reason why this moon has an atmosphere. It's not likely that water vapor could exist on a dead moon. If Hyperion is still warm, then it's possible that it's emitting enough heat to keep the vapor around. Now, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if Hyperion is a giant battery, then it could be one of the most valuable places in the solar system. Just 1 gram of material from this moon could power a home for over 1,000 years. Now, obviously, we don't know if this theory is correct. And even if it is, it's impossible to harvest the energy from a dead moon. But who knows? Maybe one day we will discover that alien worlds have more energy than we could ever use. Now, unfortunately, it's unlikely that we'll get any answers anytime soon. NASA has no plans to return to Saturn, let alone send a mission to its moons. Plus, we have way bigger problems to worry about. But in the future, maybe we lines find out why this moon is wobbling around like a drunk bee and releasing bolts of lightning into space. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my latest video on Saturn's largest moon, Titan. It's the only moon in the solar system that has a thick atmosphere, and it's full of strange surprises. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.